Hello, I'm Bob Bratina, the Mayor of the City of Hamilton. It's exciting to be back on Cable 14 to be able to talk to you about some of the great things that are happening in Hamilton and meeting some of the great people who are helping make those things happen in Hamilton. And one of them is in the studio right now, and that's Astrid Hepner. Astrid, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Mayor.
You're here for a musical reason, because you're behind a rather remarkable and ambitious project called An Instrument for Every Child. Now, does that mean that every child gets an instrument?
Well, as our title says, and you're right, I know it's ambitious, and we're fully aware of this. It was our intention to be that ambitious. We believe that all children should have the opportunity to learn to play an instrument, and that's sort of the essential idea behind this program. And of course we're doing little steps, and we've done little steps since we started in 2003, and we got quite far.
So are there instruments in the hands of children now who didn't before have them?
Well, just recently we purchased $25,000 worth of instruments. We received, and this is, I have to thank the Ontario Trillium Foundation for this. They provided us with funding to do so. And so this coming fall, 80 children will start to play an instrument. They will receive new instruments. They will receive, and we provide these instruments to these children on a free loan basis for 3 years. And we also provide them with musical instruction by qualified music teachers.
It's important to understand that we did a survey, a review of cultural activity in Hamilton, and it turns out that among all of the cultural activities, music is the strongest. There's very big music activity in the city of Hamilton, and it's historic. When Harold Cudlitz, who is in his 90s and lives at Shalom Village, was a musical agent, he brought up the first wave of rock acts such as Conway Twitty and Ronnie Hawkins, and Ronnie Hawkins' band was the band. And Grant Avenue Studios over many, many years have been recording some of the top names, just finished another Gord Lightfoot album. So the point I'm trying to make is that music is something special in Hamilton, and so your initiative to try to involve as many young people as possible in that is really worthwhile, and I'm excited about it.
Well, thank you. I mean, this is where you start. You start with the children. If you want to create a consciousness for music and culture, and I'm not sort of saying culture in this elitist way or whatever you want to.
Way,
Exactly. It's more really culture is part of life. It should be part of our life. It's enriching, and I think you start by teaching children to appreciate it. And that's what it's about. It's about exposure, exposing them to music. It's about teaching them to appreciate it, and sooner or later they'll become, hopefully, the audience of the Hamilton Philharmonic or members of the Hamilton Philharmonic Youth Orchestra, or they might become legends, future legends of Hamilton. You don't know.
So along with the playing of songs that may or may not be familiar, you have some other elements of music that are important. And one of them is the discipline of showing up for rehearsal and listening to the conductor or the teacher and so on. Yeah,
well, first of all, I have to say, and I always point this out in talking about the program, that music is very important for children. Learning to play an instrument provides a child with a tremendous sense of accomplishment and satisfaction. It's just going back to another initiative we have done in the past, where we brought instruments into the classroom and had children try these instruments, just to see the look on a child's face when they are allowed to blow into that French horn or the trombone and they get a sound out of it. You see that sense of amazement and joy on their face. And so this is an important part of what we're trying to provide. It's just this sense of accomplishment. But then also, once you start, you start with creating a sound. The next step is you create a little melody, and the next step is you create a song, and you are able to play so well that you end up playing in an orchestra, for example, which is our vision for these children to eventually be part of a large orchestra, and ensemble plays very important part of the program. So an orchestra is like a community, and it gives a child a great sense of community and teaches a child many skills.
Let's look at some pictures of some of the young people who have been introduced through your Jazz in the Hubs program.
Okay.
We've got some slides, and perhaps you can quickly describe these young kids. Is this King George School?
Well, this was last year's end of the year celebration, which was our first graduating class at King George Elementary School, and which is now closing. And I have to mention to this that we are providing for these children to go into feeder schools where we are bringing the program now, which is Prince of Wales and Memorial School.
Oh, great.
So the kids from King George will not. They will continue the program.
Look at this young violinist. Very
yeah,
good.
this is one of our, this is part of our. So what we do in the first year, we bring performers into the classroom, and these could be musicians from the Hamilton Philharmonic Orchestra, young musicians, sometimes even children that perform for our kids. It's very interactive. The kids in the classroom get to, well, first they're being introduced to the instrument. They learn about the instrument. At the end of the class, they can try the instrument. So this was during one of our Jazz in the Hub. So this was the little girl, Marceline from Hess, Hess School. She was so great. This is exactly what I'm talking about. She just played a sound, and look at her face. I mean, that's what it's about, really.
Well, it's a very profound experience when a young person, such as me in my young days, or you when you were starting out, get an instrument. There's an understanding when you get one that it's a special thing. It's not just another piece of household equipment. And so there's a respect for the instrument that the kids have.
Yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit about that, because this is something we often hear. So you're providing children, young children, with new instruments. Instruments are expensive, and so aren't you afraid that they break? And first of all, instruments do break. I mean, that's just a fact of life. And I don't think it's the end of the world if a violin has a dent, or, you know, you can fix it. But this is part of the first year, the introductory year, the introductory IFEC year, or AFEC year. We teach children to respect the instruments. We teach them this is something special. You're receiving a new instrument. It's expensive, it's nice and shiny, it plays well, and it's your job, it's your responsibility to treat it with respect and to make sure that it stays that nice. And I think children understand that.
My guest is Astrid Hepner, and she has brought a program to Hamilton that I believe originated in Germany called An Instrument for Every Child. And Astrid, what are the origins of this program?
Well, the origins are, well, the program started in a German city, Bochum, which is a small city, so most people probably won't know it. And I happened to come across this program, just I read about it. And we already had, so the seed here was planted through what we've done in the past, the Jazz in the Hubs, and conversations I had with people like our founding sponsor, Paul Lloyd, about the importance of music education. I have to mention at this point that Paul became very important and continues to be an important, well, he's our founding sponsor, part and supporter of An Instrument for Every Child. So I read about it and I thought, this is interesting. And, you know, sometimes you see this and you just impulsively send an email to the person who runs it. You think, I'll never get back. And I got a reply from the director and founder in Germany, Manfred Grunenberg. So he sent me an email back and said, pleased that you're interested. And he was very forthcoming with information. So we started a great, communication with which keeps going up until today. And so we modeled our program on their program. Just to give you a few numbers on their program, they started in 2003 in 10 schools with 300 kids. The program is now in over 600 schools, reaching over 100,000 children, and is hugely supported, of course. I mean, we're talking different dimensions here, and I'm happy. Our campaign is 10 by 15. By 2015, we want to be in 10 schools. I'm happy if we can do that, and we'll see what happens after. Okay.
So I'm going to ask you at the end of our conversation how people can get in touch with you, either through a web address and so on. But let's talk about your background, because you have pretty good musical credentials.
Well, I don't know, but
Well,
I do
you
have
do.
some. I'm a trained musician.
Yes.
I studied saxophone and composition and piano. This is a long time ago. I'm originally from Germany. And so I had my background in playing with bands and touring and performing.
And lest anyone be concerned that this is some sort of an elitist musician, that everybody's going to play Schoenberg or something like that. What was the name of your band in New York?
Okay, so in New York, yeah. We talked about this before.
Yes.
I had a band called Astrid Hepner and Funkmeister. I have to say, in '96 we moved to New York. We lived there for 10 years. Yeah. And so the first couple of years, that kept me quite busy. It was a very cool band, and the drummer, I'm kind of proud to talk about the drummer, who was this young guy from Texas. And I hired him off the stage. I saw him with another band. I said, I want you to be in my band. His name is Keith Carlock, and the drummers out there might know him because he's now one of the top drummers in the world. He tours with Sting and with all the big names, Steely Dan. And so that was kind of a cool experience. And a couple of other people I was lucky enough to play with, Tito Puente, shortly before he died. Yeah. Same concert, there was also Celia Cruz, who's a well-known Latin singer. Yeah. Well, I think that's pretty much all my credentials right there.
You do have outstanding musical credentials, and the fact that Hamilton is the Canadian host of this approach really excites me as the mayor. I'm very proud of that, and I know that you're going to achieve 10 and 15, is that?
I hope so, 10 by 15,
10
that's
by
our
15.
campaign, yeah.
Okay. So a couple of things, though. I do have an instrument for you.
Oh.
This is a clarinet.
Let me guess. Okay, clarinet.
You knew that.
It's not a tuba, for sure.
No, it's not. So I'm sure you can put that to good use in the program.
Okay.
And because...
Is this your clarinet?
Yes, it is.
Oh, thank you.
It's funny because...
So what are you playing in the future? What are you going to play at the next HBO Christmas show then?
I
have to buy you an instrument.
The accordion. Funny about the accordion too, because remember Joe Zawinul of the Weather Report?
Of course, yeah.
And I asked him whether he ever played polkas and stuff. Oh, he said, yeah, my father insisted he had to play, you know, roll out the barrel and all this stuff.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Which points to the broad nature of music, because, you know, you probably had right through all the classical training and so on.
I did play accordion.
You did?
I did. And by the age of 14, I thought it was so incredibly uncool that I wanted...
That's cool
Now I changed my opinion. I love it. There are great accordion players out there. But back then, it was just I was playing the Snow Waltz. I don't know if you know this. It's like polka type stuff. And and I thought saxophone was much cooler. So anyway, but now I'd love to be able to play it, but well.
Okay, so
be it.
You've got to get in tune with the late Astor Piazzolla of Argentina.
Oh, I know. Dino Saluzzi, Astor Piazzolla.
He wrote a song called Oblivion, which I saw on YouTube, played with a small tango ensemble and my famous Balkan tamburica ensemble, which are the mandolin type instruments. And I was just blown away because there were so many different musical themes that were brought in together to make this happen, which makes me so excited for these young people, because the first thing that they're going to do is feel the excitement of being close to something that perhaps they never experienced other than hearing CDs of music or something like that.
Right, and as you say, by just talking about all these instruments in these various genres, music is a universal language. And I think especially in Hamilton, where you have a lot of intercultural or multicultural, you have all sorts of nations in 50 or 30 nations in one school. And it's very important for us not to be genre specific. So we're not a violin program, we're not a classical program. We really try to bring to these children, to introduce them to a whole variety of musical genres. And there's not that one genre. It's music as a universal language.
Astrid, how can people who wish to make a donation or find out more information about an instrument for every child, how can they access your program?
Well, most importantly, we do have a website, which is www.aninstrumentforeverychild.org. I don't know if you can maybe put it in.
We'll put that in.
And so I highly encourage everyone who wants to learn more about the program to have a look at that website. You can actually make online donations on that website. There's also an address where you can send a check to. And I think we made it our donation program quite accessible to everybody. In that you can, if you want to just give us a small donation of $35. With $35, you can provide 1 month of music education to one child. Oh. With $200, you can buy an instrument for every child. You can support a class, you can support a school. So there are many options.
Astrid, I can't thank you enough for spending the time with us. We have to do this again sometime later in the year and ensure that the momentum continues so that you can achieve the 10 and 15.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
It was a pleasure.
Astrid Hepner.
Thank you.
We'll be back in just a moment. I'm Bob Bratina, the Mayor of Hamilton. Welcome back. I'm Bob Bratina, the Mayor of the City of Hamilton. In this portion of our program, I'd like to take you on a bit of a tour, and it's something that I intend to do throughout this series of programs on Cable 14, to show you some of the things that are happening in the city that you might not encounter in your normal day. Lots of folks, for instance, who may live on the mountain and work in another city, or perhaps in the rural areas, might not get to the downtown core to see what's going on there, and vice versa. And so we've got some things on to show you both rurally and in the urban core. But let's start off with sort of a controversial issue, and that is the Board of Education Center, which is currently being demolished. And if we could look at that slide, you'll see this is right across from City Hall, and that building was in need of about a $20 million renovation. And so the Board of Education felt that they needed to relocate, and because the building was over 40 years old, it wasn't satisfying the needs of the board. So the McMaster University Faculty of Health Sciences decided that that would be the ideal location for the new Faculty of Family Medicine. And one of the reasons that it would be a good location for that is there will be a number of clinics involved in the new building that will replace this one, and those clinics will be accessible to many of the people who do not have medical care in the so-called code red areas of the city. We'll also be training family doctors on that site. So an $80 million project will replace what you see, and we're expecting to cut that ribbon on the new Faculty of Family Medicine in 2014. So right beside that building, right across the street to the left, is a new building that's going up now, and that is a brand new Hilton Hotel. And this is the third floor of a building that will eventually be 16 stories high. You will see very rapid progress on that building if you drive down Main Street or King on a regular basis, because the developer, Mr. Darko Vranic, tells me that he expects to finish the roof off by December and then begin working on the interior of the building, and that Hilton Hotel should be available for accommodation in sometime mid to late 2013. So that's very exciting. That's right downtown. The next picture I have is a building that is already up and was built in record time. That's the brand new Staybridge Hotel, just about a block away from the Hilton that we just showed you. That's at the corner of George and Caroline Streets. It's a beautiful new hotel, and once again, I think they set a record in erecting that so quickly, and it already has had some interesting people staying there because it was open in time for the Canadian Open. Next, we've got a building down on Murray Street, which is right near to the Leuna Station. This is the old McElrath School, the old Mission Services Marty Carl Center, and it is now becoming market rent condos, and it'll be just adjacent to where the new all-day two-way GO train service will be put in place in time for the 2015 Pan Am Games. And so that's a very desirable condo location, just half a block or so away from the new GO facility. Next, we see a very interesting infill project. This is the poster in front of the confectionery or the convenience store at the corner of Walnut and Yonge. These are New York-style, brownstone-style condos, townhouses, And they're going to be providing wonderful new residential opportunities for families right near to GO stations, to parks, very central. Next, the return of the A&W. And 30 years ago, I used to stop at that A&W for Whistle Dogs. It was closed down. Harvest Burger was there for many, many years after that. And lo and behold, the A&W has returned. So brand new A&W on King Street, just as you get to Caroline Street. Next, we have one of the most exciting new restaurants probably in Canada. It's called Sarcoa. It's right down at the waterfront near the Williams Coffee Pub and the new skating rink and all of that. It's a very ambitious project with a huge patio that you can see there. Accommodation for, I think, 1,000 people standing on that patio. And an absolutely spectacular view of our harbor and the surrounding lands. People who go there sometimes can't believe they're in Hamilton, but you are. And it's just absolutely gorgeous. Let's look at our next slide now. That's the logo of the new grocery store that's coming to Hamilton in Jackson Square. And there you can see the interior of Nations that's already in place. They just opened another one in the Brampton area. And this will be the location in Jackson Square. If you recall, when the farmers market took temporary residence, that was the area of the swing space. It's been cleaned out. There will be elevators put in place to the parking garage below. And it's a 55,000 square foot brand new grocery store right in the heart of the city at Jackson Square. And that is another interesting development for Jackson Square. The famous Anchor Bar, the home of buffalo wings. All those many years ago when there wasn't much left to cook up and suddenly some guests came. They came along. The owner of the original Anchor Bar said to his wife, make me something quick. Well, all I've got is chicken wings. All right, do those up. And the buffalo wings were born, and the rest is history. We're going to get the first buffalo wings outlet, franchise outlet in Canada, here in Hamilton at Jackson Square. To close the program, I want to just cover some of the events that I was able to participate in. We keep a very busy schedule, of course, any mayor does. And one of the most important things in my year is the August 19th commemoration in Ward 5 at the very special memorial to the fallen soldiers at Dieppe. And there you see some of the survivors. There are only about 7 or 8 left. Stand Arch is the first man that you see on the left. And Jack McFarlane in that line as well, Fred Nichols and others. So one of the gentlemen, Fred Engelbrecht, was not there. He was in Dieppe itself that day on the 70th anniversary of the 1942 raid. The gentleman that you just saw in the picture is a man named Ed Carter Edwards. And he was not on the Dieppe raid, but he was a Canadian airman who was shot down and ended up in a Nazi concentration camp. Which was not typical of what happened to officers and flying men. They would be put into prisoner of war camps, but he suffered through, he saw the Holocaust firsthand, and he's always present whenever he can be at events to make sure that the suffering and the sacrifice of these men and women will never be forgotten. He lives in Caledonia. He's a great guy and a very effective speaker, especially speaking to young people. So we have a lot of concern in our office. I have Colonel Jordy Elms, who's my military heritage and protocol advisor, assisting us with all of the many military events that are taking place in Hamilton. There you see one of them, that beautiful assortment of flags flying, the Canadian flag, the British flag, the Naval Ensign, the United Nations flag. This is at the East Hamilton Decoration Day, which took place this past Sunday, in which we recount and honor our living, surviving veterans who wear their decorations that they were awarded during their time of service. And one of the other aspects of the mayor's office is the creation of these City of Hamilton Overseas Service medals. This particular one is for the peacekeepers. We just presented that. They've opened a branch of the Peacekeepers organization in Hamilton. And so Hamiltonians who served as peacekeepers get that pin from the mayor's office. We also have pins for Dieppe, for Kandahar, for Europe. Coming up next year, we'll have a pin created on the 60th anniversary of Korea. We will not forget our veterans. So these were some very dignified and wonderful events that I was able to attend, but I had a real new experience for myself because I have never driven a tractor. There happened to be a plowing match, and I was urged to get on this tractor, and I was afraid that I was going to damage it. But it was so much fun up on Joe Betzner's farm right across from Copetown Woods Golf Club. 68 competitors in the field trying to create straight furrows. The only ones I'd ever created were on my own brow. But now I can say that I'm an experienced tractor driver, as you can see by that photo. And that was a lot of fun, and my thanks to the organizers of that event. And finally, I was at a wonderful event at the invitation of Senator Braley, who distributed 30 of the Queen's Jubilee medals, and I was honored to be recipient of one of those medals. It's presented to people for community service. In my case, Senator Braley was kind enough to recount the many hours of time that I spent volunteering my time and attending charitable functions and so on. So the Queen's Jubilee Medal is in my hand there. Senator Braley alongside. Quite an honor, and I was so pleased to receive that. So that is our show for the first of the new cycle here on Cable 14, Bob Bratina's Hamilton. And the highlight will be the city itself. The new exciting things are going on. From time to time we'll touch on the history of the city, and we'll also be bringing forward to you very special people, such as we did today with the wonderful Astrid Hepner and her program, An Instrument for Every Child. There's so many people doing great things throughout our city that often don't get heard from, and so we'll do our best to bring their stories. And there may well be, such as Astrid's Instrument for Every Child, a program or a topic that you might want to particularly get involved in yourself, and we would certainly encourage that. One of the duties of the mayor under the Municipal Act is to encourage public engagement. And so whenever we can do that, we will. Later on this year, we'll also be visiting various areas of the city, especially the new amalgamated areas of the past 10 years. And we'll be talking to people individually and in groups about some of the stresses and strains of the amalgamation and what the possible remedies are for that. But we'll give you much more details on that as the fall approaches. Once again, thanks for being with us today. My name is Bob Bratina. I'm the mayor of the city of Hamilton, and I'm very proud to be the mayor of this great city. We'll see you next time.